Black CEO, stunned watching brave young student confront bully outside school. Marcus Sterling walked with purpose. The late afternoon sun stretched his shadow long along the cracked pavement. Sharp suit, steely gaze, CEO of one of the nation's top tech firms. His mind raced with numbers, deals, and tomorrow's boardroom showdown. But today, his path cut through a place that tugged at something deeper. His old high school, the very heart of the neighborhood he grew up in. That's when Marcus stopped. A cluster of kids pressed close near the school's entrance. Their voices, usually buzzing with the end-of-day energy, faltered into jagged whispers. The air felt heavy, thick like the calm before a storm. Then he saw it. A skinny boy, barely a shadow in the swarm, stood frozen. His eyes darted, swallowing every breath like it might be his last. Towering above him was a boy twice his size, broad shoulders blocking the sunlight, his sneer sharp enough to cut glass. The bully's fist twitched, knuckles white with anger. A taut silence blanketed the yard, broken only by the faint ringing of the ending school bell. Marcus's chest tightened. He wanted to rush forward, pull the smaller boy away, protect him with everything he'd got. But before he could move, something caught his eye. A girl. Small, fragile maybe, but her stance was carved from steel. She stepped out from the crowd, as if the sunlight lit her from within. Eyes brighter than the fading day, burning with fierce calm, shoulders squared, like a soldier ready for battle. She didn't flinch. Her voice, though small, thundered across the yard, slicing through the thick tension. "Leave him alone," she shouted. "Hitting people won't make you strong. It just makes you weak." The bully's jaw clenched. The shadows around his eyes deepened, dark and stormy, like thunderclouds gathering before a crash. His lips curled down, teeth grinding in silence that screamed of danger. The crowd held its breath, faces gone pale, whispers bubbled like a broken dam. "She's crazy. He's gonna lose it. Why her?" The schoolyard was a theater, the stakes sky high. Marcus felt sweat bead at his temple. His heart hammered against his ribs. Every nerve screamed, "Jump in, save her." But another voice, quieter, rooted him to the spot. Maybe this was her fight. Maybe this battle was bigger than just two kids. She kept speaking, fearless, raw, stirring something buried deep in Marcus. Memories flickered. His own storms faced long ago. The bruises, the fear, the battles fought when hope seemed far away. Then, the dangerous quiet. The bully's eyes narrowed hard, darkening like pitch. The world seemed to lean forward, waiting. And Marcus realized every word the girl spoke could light a fire so wild it might burn down more than just fear. It could break or bind a whole crowd. This wasn't just a kid's fight anymore. It was a moment on a razor's edge. Her defiance hung in the air. The bully's fury ready to explode. Marcus's throat dried. What happens now? Will he step in, shattering her brave defiance? Or will he let her stand tall, risking everything? The sun dipped lower, shadows growing longer. The silence stretched, waiting. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And while you're there, drop a powerful like. It really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of the moment hung thick and raw. Silence pulsed in the air. Marcus could hear the shallow breaths of the gathered students, the violent thump of his heart echoing a war cry in his ears. The tension snapped. But just as the bully's hand twitched, preparing for an explosion of rage, a sudden sound shattered the charged atmosphere. A loud crack, sharp as glass breaking. Out of nowhere, a car swerved onto the curb, tires screeching, skidding to a halt, mere feet from the school entrance. In an instant, the audience shifted. Eve. From the car, a figure leaped out. The world narrowed, the air crisp as the hidden truths began to unfurl. A woman in a tailored black suit stormed toward them, her heels clicking against the pavement like an approaching storm. Dark sunglasses concealed her eyes, but there was no mistaking the urgency in her stride, driven, fierce, and unmistakably familiar. Marcus's stomach dropped. It was Dr. Lisa Renshaw, the powerhouse of the city's health sector, and an influential board member at his firm. He had only known her professionally. Their paths rarely intersected in the personal realm. But here she was, her presence unexpected and electric, calling out over the crowd, voice sharpened to a blade. "Simon!" she barked, fixing her gaze directly on the bully. The boy flinched, a blend of surprise and dread flashing across his face. He froze, muscles tight. The crowd gasped. Whispers erupted like popcorn. "What's she want? How does she know him? She's insane!" someone muttered. Dr. Renshaw marched forward, the aura of authority rolling off her in thick waves. "Stop this!" she commanded, her eyes fiery behind the dark lenses. But the truth hit harder. "Get away from him, Miss Renshaw!" the girl shouted back bravely, challenging the new intruder. There was an edge to her voice, a protective growl that few had ever heard. "What do you know about it?" Dr. Renshaw shot back, surprise flashing behind her sunglasses. It cracked through the facade. This was personal, deeper than it seemed. The tension thickened. The crowd shifted, muttering quietly. Their world tilted. "Enough!" Simon roared, now sensing the power shifting. "You're ruining everything!" Suddenly, whispers erupted once more. Familiar connections shook the ground beneath, like ice breaking free. "He's her son," came the words from a shocked onlooker. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. The pieces clicked alarmingly and painfully into place. The boy, the bully, was indeed Dr. Renshaw's son. In that instant, Marcus saw a mother's fierce drive morph into desperate protection. a storm raging beneath the surface. God, this was bigger than he thought. The battlefield was reshaping, loyalties shifting like quicksand. "You want to shield him with violence?" Dr. Renshaw pressed, stepping closer, the air thickening with terror and shame. "Things can't settle under that shadow." Her voice hushed, yet fierce. Marcus's heart raced. The girl, still standing firm, glanced at Renshaw, confusion mingling with determination on her face. The stakes were rising. Would she let this mother drown him in silence? Or could she rally the crowd behind the truth? Then, without warning, a dark realization descended. Something in Simon cracked. Vulnerability flashed under the fury, revealing the boy beneath the bully. His expression morphed from rage to desperation. "You don't understand," he yelled. I had to." And with those words, the layers of Ari's world began to unravel. Secrets untold. No one prepared for the fallout of those fueled admissions. The crowd's breath hitched in unison. What had Simon done? Why had he crossed the line? But silence morphed into a cacophony of gasps, fear, and anticipation. Marcus stood frozen, caught amidst a swirl of shattered identities and societal expectations. What did he do? But in this moment of chaos, clarity eluded everyone as the shadows closed in tighter, choking the open air. Because I thought he was going to hurt you," Simon stammered, anguish etching deeper lines into his young face. Fear clung to his voice like tendrils of smoke. Something happened last week. You don't know." "What happened?" Dr. Renshaw interjected sharply, her sunglasses reflecting the flickering fear in the boy's eyes. "What are you talking about?" There was an urgency in her voice, a crack in her otherwise commanding presence. The air thickened, pregnant with implications. Then, as if drawn by an invisible thread, a figure broke through the school entrance, panic blazing in their eyes. Their hair was wild, strands whipping against their face. It was a teacher, Mr. Lamont, the one who often stayed late to help students. But there was something strange about his demeanor, a wildness, a desperation. "Simon, you need to come with me, now!" Stunned, the crowd's murmurs descended into confusion. "What's happening?" someone shouted, the edge of fear threading the question. Simon's face paled. No, I can't," he shouted back, his voice cracking like glass. "Just go. I'm trying to protect you." Mr. Lamont's breath came in frantic bursts. He glanced at the crowd, eyes darting, as if sensing unseen dangers looming behind him. "Protect him from what?" the girl demanded, raw determination coloring her tone. Yet uncertainty danced behind her fierce exterior. "From the truth," Mr. Lamont spat, his voice trembling as it stepped into the shadows, drawing uneasy gasps from the audience. Attention built like a dam about to break. Fear washed over the crowd, a collective unease rippling among them. Just like that, crack, the dam burst, scattering secrets into the wind. 2 days ago, I saw him with the gun, Mr. Lamont murmured, his voice a bare whisper, but the weight of his words hung like an anvil over them. He was there when it happened. I didn't know. I couldn't. Gasps erupted, shockwaves echoing through the crowd. The idea of a gun shattered the schoolyard silence, layering panic atop the already tangled emotions. The view of innocence crumbled like dust in the wind, revealing something dark and unfathomable lurking beneath. Marcus stumbled backward, the ground beneath him shifting. Simon's eyes, once furious, widened to pools of terror as the threads of his life unraveled right before them. "No, you don't understand. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault." His voice rang out, desperate and haunting, igniting raw, jagged fear in everyone who heard it. Dr. Renshaw's stern facade cracked, revealing a mother's heart beneath, vulnerable and exposed. "What are you saying, Simon? What did you see?" The answer hung like a noose in the air, deadly, dangerous. And then, amid the swirling vortex of emotions, a new player entered the stage. A slick black SUV slid into view, its engine rumbling with an ominous authority. Jeep-like shadows creeping along the pavement. Tension snapped. Every eye swung to the newcomer, breath hitching in unison, dread rising. A door swung open, revealing a tall figure, familiar but sinister. It was Marcus's former mentor, a man shrouded in betrayal, secrets, and the makings of a hidden agenda. Marcus, the man called, voice smooth yet dripping with malice. "I think we need to talk." And in that moment, Marcus everything he thought he knew about himself and those around him blurred at the edges, like a painting washed in rain. He stood at the edge of revelation, heart pounding with dread, the storm of betrayal unfurling around him. This was not merely a schoolyard fight anymore. It was a battle against unspoken horrors, and the stakes had never been higher. The skin on the back of his neck prickled as he realized secrets were a powerful weapon, and the fuse was lit. What lay ahead would change everything forever. The air became electric, thrumming with tension, as Marcus stared at the sinister figure emerging from the SUV. It felt like a cinematic moment, the world narrowing to his former mentor's sneering face. Marcus, the man called again, his voice wrapping around the name like barbed wire. The crowd shifted, uneasy whispers cascading through the gathering. Who is he? What does he want? Marcus felt their fearful eyes dart toward him, a weight he never wanted to carry. Then, "It wasn't me. It was someone else." Every student, every adult hung on Simon's words, straining to comprehend the fallout. Dr. Renshaw's stern facade faltered, her maternal instincts struggling against the relentless tide of fear. "What do you mean?" she prompted, urgency layered in her tone. Suddenly, the air was thick with impending chaos. Marcus's heart raced, pounding against his chest. His former mentor smirked, catching the wild terror in Simon's eyes, and with a deliberate slowness, revealed a small device from his pocket. A phone, its screen illuminating with dark intent. "Let's see what the truth really is." The crack of silence deafened as he pressed play. The crowd collectively gasped, sound swallowing the air with dread. From the speaker, a voice emerged, low, sinister. You think you can hide the truth. You've played the game long enough. It was a recording, shaky and ominous, shaking the very foundation of everything they thought they understood. Your little secret is about to come to light. A collective shudder ran through the onlookers. What secret? Someone whispered, the question rising in an anxious crescendo. Enough, Dr. Renshaw barked, stepping forward, her authority faltering like a crack in glass. What are you talking about? The mentor's smirk widened, revealing sharp teeth. Ah, protectors and victims alike. But the truth will unearth all your buried bones. Marcus, it's time the world saw your legacy for what it truly is. The jarring accusation made the air crackle, and Marcus's stomach twisted. What are you saying? He demanded, the urgency now morphing into a terrible weight bearing down on him, threatening to crush him under its significance. I'm saying, Marcus, the man leaned closer, his voice venomous, yet calm, that your father, he didn't just leave your family. He was exposed for his role. You are the last of his line, but that's not all. Panic suffocated Marcus as the shocking truth tethered itself to the space between breaths. You're a part of this mess, Marcus. This entire place has been a facade. You think your success shielded you? It only buried you deeper in your father's sins. The word sins echoed through the crowd, taller than buildings, and whispered among them. Gasps rang out, faces scrunching in shock and confusion. Simon crumbled beneath the weight of it all, his expression a painful concoction of guilt, fear, anger. No, it can't be true. You don't know what you're saying. The raw desperation in Simon's voice cut through the air, but it was a distant plea amidst the chaos that spread like wildfire. What sins? The girl yelled, resolved, yet uncertain. What have they done? With that, a shadow flickered behind Marcus, a ripple of darkness pouring through the crowd. A woman broke from the background, her silhouette stark against the setting sun. "Cut the lies, Adrian!" she shouted, voice sharp as broken glass. It was his estranged mother, a specter from a past long buried. You never wanted him to find out the truth, did you? Her words clawed at him, raw and jagged. The crowd pulsed with shock, disbelief flooding the air, whispering 1,000 secrets, lost in time. I thought you were gone, he breathed, realization dawning like the sunrise behind storm clouds. Marcus, listen, she implored, urgency dancing in her eyes. You're more than you think, but there's a power at play here, one we couldn't outrun. It's not just Simon's truth we're fighting. It's everything. The crowd leaned forward, drawn into the vortex of unraveling lies. Marcus felt the world shifting again, foundations crumbling beneath his feet. Secrets were whispering their way to the surface, and suddenly, everything felt like a twisted convergence. As he locked eyes with Simon, vulnerability and fright merging, he felt the rupture of both their worlds collide. You know what really happened, don't you? Simon's breath hitched, a mixture of relief and dread lighting in his expression. I can't tell you, Marcus, not now. And with that, an undeniable truth began to dawn. To unearth one secret meant risking everything they had built. In that moment, Marcus sensed the approaching storm. The truth was not just a weapon. It was a reckoning that would change the canvas of their lives forever. What lay ahead would carve paths they couldn't foresee. But the time for silence was drawing to a brutal end. The air crackled with urgency, a fever of chaos tightening its grip as Marcus stood at the precipice of his own unraveling. Words hung thick with meaning, the foundation shaking beneath him. The realization that the boy confronting the bully was enmeshed in the terrifying echoes of his own history ignited every nerve in his body, surging toward an unavoidable destiny. Everything's connected. His mother's voice quaked, slicing through the swirling panic. But it's not as simple as you think, Marcus. He felt the weight of her gaze, an illumination of truths darkened by years of concealment. The crowd pulsed with energy, confused murmurs morphing into a restless tide of speculation. "Tell us the truth," the girl demanded, a defiant edge to her voice. "What do you mean by all this?" Before Marcus could process her words, a loud crack echoed like thunder, reverberating through the schoolyard. He turned sharply, eyes narrowing, as a flash of light ignited the air, rippling with. The car door swung wide, flinging open with violence, spilling forth a gang of figures clad in black. They moved with a sinister precision, shadow-cloaked bodies emerging like harbingers of chaos. Gasps erupted as the sight sank into collective consciousness. They weren't just enforcers. They wore the emblem of a clandestine organization, known only in whispers. The energy shifted palpably, merging disbelief with a tangible dread as the reality of the scene sank in. "Get back!" shouted Mr. Lamont, his earlier panic transforming into a fierce urgency. "They'll expose it all! Get the kids out of here!" No one knew what he meant, but terror rang true in their eyes. The stakes were higher than the battle between Simon and the girl. The black-clad figures advanced, faces hard and unreadable, shadows falling across the crowd like a spoken curse. "Stop!" Marcus's voice tore through the chaos, trembling yet insistent. "What do you want?" Adrian, the mentor with the grin that turned stomachs, merely chuckled, eyes glinting with cruel amusement. "Oh, Marcus, you've always been too curious for your own good. But you need to understand, the truth isn't just about you anymore." With a flick of his wrist, he revealed a flash drive, holding it aloft like a trophy. "This little gem contains more than your secrets. It houses the rotten core of this entire community." The crowd recoiled, disbelief thinly veiled under layers of fear. "Your father didn't just abandon you," Adrian continued, voice dripping with malice. "He buried everything, his true legacy intertwined with dark dealings that extend far beyond what you know. But guess what? You're next in line." Silence descended, thick and choking. Heartbeats echoed like war drums as the crowd absorbed the furious pulse of the moment. "What do you mean, next in line?" Simon's voice tremored, fraught with dread. "What legacy?" Adrian grinned, a mask of calm amid the chaos. "You might want to tie up loose ends before your past comes to collect. Just ask your mother. Oh wait, she's right here." The buzz spread like wildfire, the crowd's focus shifting. Marcus turned, and his heart dropped. His mother, once standing firm and resolute, now looked as pale as death, the weight of countless secrets pressed against her like a heavy cloak. "Mom, what do you know?" His voice cracked, desperation rising like a tide. "That I'm your real mother," she confessed, breath hitching as revelation struck like lightning. "And your father, he wasn't innocent. He trusted the wrong people, Marcus. Everything you love could burn because of me." The world spun, anchored only by the reason behind her fear. "No, no, it can't be," Marcus gasped, rebelling against the truth closing in. But as the crowd leaned in, drawn towards the conflagration of secrets, he understood. This wasn't merely about forgiveness. It was a reckoning of a past he'd never known. A collective gasp cut through as something shimmered in the distance. A figure approaching, holding up a photo. A picture from the past unveiled. And that face too, familiar yet distorted, shifted everything anew. Eyes widened, breaths caught. What they saw changed the narrative irrevocably. All they believed was a chain of lies, tied tightly around hidden deeds that would spell doom. The photograph held everything: identity, betrayal, and the fragments of a life stolen. "Look, this is your real family." The crowd surged, and as Marcus stared into the eyes captured in that image, the world trembled beneath him. It all tied back here in this moment, as the truth began to unravel. And in that fraught silence, a new voice pierced through the shadows, echoing the silent scream within them all. "It's time for you to choose, Marcus. Are you with them, or against everything you thought you knew?" The photograph hovered in the air like a thunderstorm ready to break. Marcus squinted, heart pounding, as the vision became clearer. It was a family portrait from years past, laughter frozen under the weight of something dark. The light smudged gracefully against smiles that now felt like taunts. The girl beside Simon gasped, drawing a curtain of tension even tighter. "Wait, who are those people?" she whispered, her voice barely escaping her lips, yet heavy with fear. As the crowd stirred, faces contorted with confusion and disbelief, realization swept like wildfire through the group. The image belonged to a life that hadn't just been hidden, it had been erased. "Marcus!" Adrian sneered, breaking the moment's filmic silence. "They're your family, yes, but more than that." He gestured wildly, the wicked glint in his eyes deepening like the collapse of twilight. "They were the last of a line, bred for greatness and destruction." A knot twisted in Marcus's stomach. "What did you mean by bread?" he stammered, a chill creeping into his voice, his world flip-flopping beneath him. Before Adrian could answer, a new sound sliced through the atmosphere, a low growl, almost like thunder rolling ominously through the sky. Gasps echoed as the crowd turned in unison. A massive black van screeched to a halt, its tires screeching in a menacing crescendo. A chilling feeling coursed through everyone as they braced for yet another upheaval in this unraveling chaos. Out stepped a figure, cloaked in an intimidating leather jacket, her dark hair whipping against her as if caught in an unseen wind. "Get back!" the figure shouted, marching toward the center of it all. There was a tang of danger in the air, the kind that sent icy fingers down spines. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus demanded, part staggering against the surrealism of it all. The figure pulled back her hood, revealing a face he recognized but had never expected to see again. "Rachel," he breathed, shock igniting in his veins. Rachel, his older sister who had vanished years ago, was the lost puzzle piece, barely holding his memories together. She had been presumed dead in a tragic accident, a gaping absence that echoed in their family story, a part of his past that felt like a myth. "Why are you here?" Voices cracked with tension, caught between confusion and relief rippling through Marcus. Before she could respond, Rachel's gaze flickered to Simon, recognition painting her features. "You!" she pointed, anger sparking behind her eyes. "You have no idea what you've done." In an instant, Simon's back straightened. "What? I didn't." But she cut him off, voice imbued with anxiety. "You opened the door, Simon. You brought this all back." The crowd recoiled, confusion intertwined with fear as the pieces began to align. Everything shifted. "What door? What the hell are you talking about?" Marcus shouted, his whole being thrumming with the need for answers. Rachel stepped closer, the storm in her eyes, battling untamed memories. "I wasn't the only one who got pulled into this. Your father, he made choices that will haunt this family forever." Those people in that photo, she waved a hand dismissively. They didn't just disappear. They can be found. Those who hunted us can still hunt you or protect you. "Protect us?" Adrian scoffed, a chilling smile creeping across his face. "Oh, you poor, naive girl. They just want more blood." Suddenly, with a precision that felt otherworldly, the phone in Adrian's hand buzzed violently, as if reacting to the truths coiling in the air. He pressed a button, and the cacophony of a sharp siren erupted, blasting through the chaos like a weapon unleashed. The crowd froze, caught between the tremors of utter disbelief and the pulse of impending doom. That's when Rachel's face blanched, the weight of a damning secret collapsing on her. "I didn't think it could happen again," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper, dread spilling from her words. "Again?" Simon asked, horror tinged with confusion thickening the air. "She wasn't the only one who vanished," Rachel whispered. I thought the curse had died, but it's back, and now everyone I love is in danger." As the realization hit, a suffocating silence crushed down, the eyes of the crowd shifting between Marcus and Rachel, like quiet echoes of a past they never understood. He felt the tightness in his chest as he began to see the fracture lines of the truth. Rachel's words remained heavy, pregnant with revelations. "Yet they won't stop until they unravel everything," she finished, panic rising, "including you." And just as she uttered that truth, everything exploded. Lights flickered wildly overhead, shadows danced, and Marcus felt the ground tremble beneath their feet. This was just the beginning of a chaotic storm. What lay ahead was no longer about the past, but a fight for survival against unearthly forces and the unveiled terrors that bound their fates. Together, it wasn't fear, it was power. But power came with a price, and the cost would be steep. In that electrifying moment of impending chaos, the question remained: would he embrace the secret legacy of his family and fight, or would he let the tide sweep him away? The air was electric, thrumming with urgency as Marcus stood at the edge of chaos, a low growl resonating in his chest. The sirens blared, a cacophony that drowned out the collective breath of the crowd, shaking them to the core. Every second felt like a ticking bomb, and the reality of his sister's presence spun around him, a whirlwind of past traumas entwined with the current crisis. "Marcus, we don't have time," Rachel urged, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. Just behind her, Adrian's smirk faltered, shadowed by the rising tide of chaos. The figures in black moved closer, shadows of instant threat pressing down on them all. But just as the tension peaked, a blinding flash. "What's happening?" the girl next to Simon shouted, hands clenching into fists as fear danced in her eyes. "No, no, no!" Rachel's voice trembled, rising above the chaos. "They've activated the protocol. We need to go, now!" In that instant, a figure emerged from the van, a tall, imposing woman, clad in an authoritative uniform, her eyes scanning the crowd with cold precision. "This is an emergency lockdown. Everyone away from the gates." Everyone stood in stunned silence, the weight of her command freezing them. Rachel's gaze darted between Marcus and the newcomer. "It's her." "Who?" Marcus's stomach twisted as he met Rachel's frantic eyes. "The one who—" But before she could finish, the woman raised her voice, interrupting with steely determination. "I know who you are, Rachel. You're not supposed to be here. No one should be." Adrian stepped forward, an unsettling calm settling over him. "What are you doing here, Sheila? This isn't your operation." But before she could respond, a flash of movement caught Marcus's eye. Simon, gripped by a panic that coursed through his veins, stepped forward. "You're not taking them." "You can't." Then everything exploded. With a rush, gunfire rang out, hot and sickening as bullets pinged against the pavement, shattering the fragile stillness. The crowd erupted, screams mingling with the cacophony, bodies scattering like leaves caught in a storm. Marcus pulled Rachel close, instinctively shielding her with his body. "Stay down," he shouted, adrenaline surging. Every survival instinct kicked in as he scanned frantically for Simon and the girl. The realization that they were all targets now blew the remaining threads of calm apart. "No, they're not the enemy," shouted Rachel, her fists clenched in defiance as chaos unfurled like a wild flag. "You don't understand. We need to." But the fear began to bleed into anger as the woman called Sheila moved, her focus shifting elsewhere. "Enough of this. You think you can protect him?" she bellowed, eyes narrowing at Marcus. "Marcus, you're too close to the fire. Time to come clean, or everyone pays." In that moment, like an unbearable burden of truth crashing down around them, Marcus felt the weight of revelations crashing into him. What do you mean? He gasped, eyes locking with Sheila, the connection sharp and unexpected. Sheila stepped closer, lowering her voice to a chilling whisper. You're not just the son of a man with blood on his hands, Marcus. You were meant to inherit his legacy. The crowd whispered, confusion mirroring the turmoil within him. How do you know so much? He demanded, heart pounding against the walls of his chest as the world tilted beneath him. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw Simon thrown to the ground, a force more powerful than anything he had known weighing down on him. No, Rachel screamed. But before she could react, Sheila shifted her gaze back to Marcus, her tone gaining a harsh edge. He was meant to be the key, a pawn in a game bigger than you can comprehend. You're in deeper than you think. Suddenly, something in Marcus shifted, realization dawning as fragments of memories twisted together. Truths he had repressed, splintering free like crashing glass. What does this mean? He voiced, desperation tinging his tone. But before Sheila could speak, a larger figure, cloaked in shadows, emerged behind her. Now, let's not be hasty. Marcus, you've always been the wild card, the figure said, voice dripping with a mix of familiarity and menace. Who are you? Marcus shot back, the fear morphing now into a bewildering defiance. The figure stepped into the light, and time slowed. A forgotten face, wrapped in betrayal, emerged, twisting the knife deeper. You should know me well, Marcus. I'm the one who orchestrated this mess from the beginning. Your true legacy belongs to me, and now it's time to make a choice. As the truth spiraled into chaos, Marcus felt the world unravel, a dizzying plunge into an abyss where every connection, every shred of loyalty might shatter under the weight of betrayal. What choice would he make? Would he embrace the darkness within, or claw through the shadows of what he thought he knew? The sirens continued wailing, but amid the noise, his heart thundered with a singular truth. Everything was about to change, and the cost of ignorance may prove lifetimes too steep to pay. The world, your true legacy, belongs to me, the shadowy figure sneered, his words slicing through the fray. Adrenaline surged, coursing through every nerve ending, stoking the flames of fear as unholy revelations loomed. But before Marcus could fully process the weight of betrayal unfurling around him, another sound, a thunderous crack, split the air. The ground shook violently beneath them, the earth rebelling against the moment's absurdity. Suddenly, the black van erupted into a chaotic blaze, flames licking the sky in a frenzied dance as thick smoke billowed around them. "Get down!" Sheila shouted, her authoritative voice winning over the panic as everyone stumbled backward, shielding themselves from the flaming inferno. The crowd erupted in a torrent of chaos, bodies crashing against one another in a desperate bid for safety, fear eclipsing everything. As the flames flickered with hellish glee, the oppressive smoke rapidly enveloped the area, confusing the senses. The heat surged in whoop. Simon wailed, panic enshrined within his voice. Then, amidst the turmoil, a glimmer of light emerged, not the orange glow of fire, but a sharp white emanating from the wreckage. From the center of the flames, a figure crawled, the silhouette emerging through the smoke as if heralded by the chaos. As people gasped anew, recognition washed over Marcus, and he could hardly believe his eyes. "Charlotte?" His voice cracked as the realization struck, his breath hitching painfully in his throat. She had been presumed gone, lost to time in a relentless world fraught with shadows. Yet here she was, staggering toward him, skin singed and eyes ablaze with a frantic energy that spoke of unutterable horrors. "Marcus!" she rasped, voice raw, yet undeniably fierce, battling against the flames licking at her heels. "They're coming for you, and they won't stop until they have the legacy." Behind her, another sound bled into the cacophony, a deep rumble, merging with the crumbling chaos. Marcus, the driver's door swung open, revealing a man dressed meticulously in an unyielding suit. "Charlotte!" the man bellowed, anger twisting his features. "You shouldn't be here. This was never meant for you." His voice fell like a hammer, resonating with an authority that sent a shockwave through Marcus. "What's going on? Who are you?" The question escaped his lips, too slow, not grasping the full gravity of the moment. As the man approached, shrouded in intensity, horror unfurled, a flat smile stretched wide across his face. "Oh, Marcus, you still don't get it. Family means everything, doesn't it? But there's just one little thing you must understand." At that moment, Charlotte stepped closer, revealing a piece of paper crumpled in her hands, a tangled expression marred by the chaos. "You are not who you think you are," she gasped, the truth spilling like forbidden wine. The world stopped, eyes darting between her and the man who radiated an unsettling calm. "What do you mean?" Marcus's voice wavered, a breath of disbelief rendering the space taut, alight with inexplicable dread. Behind him, Rachel whispered hoarsely, "You were adopted, Marcus." Every breath turned to ash, burning in his chest. The shock twisted deeper and deeper, eternity collapsing under the confrontational force of revelation. "No, that's not possible," he shouted, his voice cracking with the weight of the truth. But Charlotte's eyes were unyielding, the shadows beneath them pulling with a gravity so heavy it felt like an anchor sinking him into a void. "And the legacy?" she continued, voice trembling. "It's far darker than any of us imagined. There's more to the family you were raised in. The truth is buried, but I know where to find it." The roar of the flames crescendoed at her words, uncertainty gripping the hearts of the assembly. Flames distorted the shadows, revealing the stark dualities buried within their lives. And in that moment, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. He faced a path unraveling into darkness, one littered with blood ties that, once uncovered, could ignite the entire world. The choice lay before him: embrace the storm or flee into silence. And as the heat singed the air around them, he felt the pulse of danger beckoning him closer. Everything was about to change, one secret away from obliteration. The world teetered on the edge of chaos, Marcus breathing in. "Your true legacy belongs to me," the shadowy figure sneered, his words slicing through the fray. Adrenaline surged, coursing through every nerve ending, stoking the flames of fear as unholy revelations loomed. But before Marcus could fully process the weight of betrayal unfurling around him, another sound, a thunderous crack, split the air. The ground shook violently beneath them, the earth rebelling against the moment's absurdity. Suddenly, the black van erupted into a chaotic blaze, flames licking the sky in a frenzied dance as thick smoke billowed around them. "Get down!" Sheila shouted, her authoritative voice winning over the panic as everyone stumbled backward, shielding themselves from the flaming inferno. The crowd erupted in a torrent of chaos, bodies crashing against one another in a desperate bid for safety, fear eclipsing everything. As the flames flickered with hellish glee, the oppressive smoke rapidly enveloped the area, confusing the senses. The heat surged in woe. Simon wailed, panic enshrined within his voice. Then, amidst the turmoil, a glimmer of light emerged, not the orange glow of fire, but a sharp white emanating from the wreckage. From the center of the flames, a figure crawled, the silhouette emerging through the smoke as if heralded by the chaos. As people gasped anew, recognition washed over Marcus. It was Charlotte, skin singed and eyes ablaze. "Marcus!" she rasped, breathless yet determined, battling against the flames licking at her heels. "They're coming for you, and they won't stop until they have the legacy." Behind her, another sound bled into the cacophony, a deep rumble merging with the crumbling chaos. Marcus turned to watch as another vehicle skidded into view, the weight of metal crunching underfoot. The driver's door swung open, revealing a man dressed meticulously in an unyielding suit, his demeanor taut with authority. "Charlotte!" the man bellowed, anger twisting his features. "You shouldn't be here. This was never meant for you." His voice fell like a hammer, resonating with an authority that sent a shockwave through Marcus. "What's going on? Who are you?" The question escaped his lips, too slow, not grasping the full gravity of the moment. As the man approached, shrouded in intensity, horror unfurled. A flat smile stretched wide across his face. "Oh, Marcus, you still don't get it. Family means everything, doesn't it? But there's just one little thing you must understand." At that moment, Charlotte stepped closer, revealing a piece of paper crumpled in her hands, a tangled expression marred by the chaos. "You are not who you think you are." She gasped, the truth spilling like forbidden wine. The world stopped, eyes darting between her and the man who radiated an unsettling calm. "What do you mean?" Marcus's voice wavered, the trajectory of his life shifting under the weight of hidden secrets. Then something sparked within him, a flicker of recognition ignited. "No, no!" he whispered, pain creeping into his voice, the realization crystallizing. "This isn't happening." But Charlotte's eyes were unwavering, the shadows beneath them pulling with a gravity so heavy it felt like an anchor sinking him into a void. "You think those who raised you are your real family? There's more, Marcus. You were never meant to stay here in the light." As she spoke, the flames around them flickered dangerously. The man's voice dropped, chillingly smooth. "Your father didn't vanish, Marcus. He was taken. Our family, Ours is one of legacy and betrayal. It was never just business. It was survival. A cold wave washed over Marcus as the connections twisted deeper. Memories of whispered conversations, hurried exchanges began to piece together like a dark puzzle. What does that mean? What's survival? That's where your lineage comes in. Charlotte shot back, urgency flooding her tone. The legacy, it's a lineage of power, a world not of your choosing, but one that demands you as its successor. Blood drained from Marcus's face as the truth coiled tighter, a vice squeezing around his heart. But I chose this life. This is who I am. Not if you're the key to unlocking everything, unlocking a war bigger than you can fathom, she insisted, urgency smoldering. There's something more, Marcus, something deeper that must emerge with blood. The rumble of distant engines intensified as silhouettes began to materialize just beyond the circle of chaos, as a new shadow loomed. 20 or more figures clad in dark leather, weapons glinting like vicious teeth. Years of waiting culminate here. Your past will catch up. And you, he pointed sharply at Marcus, must decide now. Will you join your true family or face its wrath? The weight of his options crashed down on him. Love, loyalty, and betrayal twisted like barbed wire in his veins. Conflicting allegiances warred within him in that moment, when suddenly, Charlotte shrieked and the world fell into chaos once more. An explosion erupted behind them, the shockwave tossing bodies aside. Metal shards flying like bullets. Marcus stumbled, heart racing. As he turned, there was a deafening silence. Then a scream from someone within the crowd as darkness consumed the light. And Marcus felt it. The finality of a choice he never wanted to make. The choice that would unravel all ties as everything he believed shattered in a fresh flame of realization. In that burning moment, he understood. The churning secrets, the bloodline mysteries. It wasn't just his past that awaited reckoning. It was the past that had been written for everyone standing there, waiting for him to tip the scale. The questions echoed, racing against the wind. Would he lead them to salvation or damnation? And as the flames surged higher, a desperate urge clenched in his throat. The game of legacy had begun, and the cost would be buried in fire and shadows. The flames danced behind Marcus, relentless and wild. The crowd had exploded in chaos, panic lingering thick in the air. He felt a jolt in his chest, a primal call to action, as the weight of his choices pressed down on him. Help me, Charlotte whispered, her voice trembling. We need to get the truth out. About what? Marcus asked, urgency seeping into his tone. Everything, she said, her eyes fierce. Our family, the legacy. They've controlled the narrative for too long. It's time we reclaim it. Marcus glanced back at the man in the suit, who watched with cold enjoyment as the chaos unfolded. We can't let him win, he growled, fire igniting in his belly. Rachel materialized beside them, determination sharp in her stance. You need to confront him, Marcus. He's been holding us captive in fear and lies. Marcus took a shaky breath. This was it. He felt the memories collide, the warmth of family, the shadows of secrets, the burden of legacy. He looked at Simon and Charlotte. "If we stand together, we can break this cycle," he said fiercely. With a nod of solidarity, they rushed toward the figure in the suit, their resolve growing stronger with each step. The flames behind them roared, a reminder of the past they were fighting to escape. As they closed in, Marcus's voice rang clear, cutting through the chaos. "Enough! You're not the puppet master here," he declared, feeling the tide of hope swelling within him. The man's smile faded, replaced by disbelief. "You think you can stop this? You're just a boy." "No, I'm much more than that. I'm a son, a brother, and I refuse to live in your shadow any longer." The assembled crowd fell silent, caught in the moment's magnitude. With one swift motion, Marcus held up the crumpled paper Charlotte had given him. "This is proof of our history, a history we claim, not a destiny you impose." The world held its breath, eyes flicking between Marcus and the suit-clad man, the tension tangible, the silence shattered, as the man stepped back, anger flashing. "You don't know what you're starting," he spat. "It's already begun," Simon said, stepping forward, his fear transformed into determination. "And you're not part of it anymore." And just like that, the shadows who had loomed over them retreated, fear washing over their faces as Marcus held his ground. The tide shifted, transforming the narrative. The flames flickered, retreating into a controlled blaze as the crowd began to chant confidence. "We are more than our past. We are the future." As the last shadows disappeared, Marcus felt a rush of lightness fill the space around them. They were free, at last. The weight of legacy lifted. Together they embraced, warmth spreading through each of them like a brand new dawn. "We did it," Charlotte whispered, tears streaming, hope glimmering in her eyes. "Together," Marcus replied, knowing this was just the beginning of a new chapter, not just for him, but for everyone who had been ensnared in fear. And just as they turned to leave, a distant sound, a soft creaking, like a door gently swinging open, hinted at a past not fully settled, mysteries still waiting to be uncovered. Before they could share their smiles and laughter, a voice echoed from the ashes of destruction. "You think it's over?" And that voice sent a chill through Marcus, but he didn't falter. Now was the moment to act. You must subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about the ending. And share this video right now with at least 5 of your friends who need to know how this ends. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait another second.